And finally, it is Scouts versus Peony Dynasty here, 10 p.m. AEST. Nurse on Cold Tower 1, Mastermind on Cold Tower 1, and the tiebreaker of Clown on Wrecker's Yard. So a lot of Cold Tower for the entire night. Yes, you've been seeing it time and time again. I think out of the five sets we've had tonight, four of them have been on Cold Tower, and this is your sixth one, so six. Regardless, gonna be too hot on the killer, or too hard. I'll say too hard. Sorry, I do apologize if I mess up the names here. Everybody is still very new to me, at least in this match, so pronunciations are yet to come. But I do have someone else on the desk with me tonight. Not Sir Smog this time around. Peaches, how are we doing? How are we feeling about this series in particular?
I am extremely excited for this. I'm excited to see two, for the most part, brand new teams. At least they're brand new to me, and I think they're brand new to most of the viewers here. But I'm excited to see what they can do for us. We've heard a couple of rumors about, or some background information about Peony Dynasty. We haven't heard a whole lot about Scouts, so what better way to showcase their skills than going against each other and on the live stream, on the live stage, and showing us what they got to start off this season 6. And we do find Foreign over here at the edge map 6, and we get the pallet stun on the edge map pillar, giving a little bit of time to make it to Shaq, but not quite able to get cut line of sight to get rid of prevent the nurse from injuring. And we get a very fast 2-tap onto Foreign. I guess that's why the 2 is in 2-ha. It stands for 2-tap haha.
Yeah, it might just stand for 2-tap haha, but that's a good way of putting it. But it's going to be foreignly on the hook there, just on 6 though. So yeah, that's just the potential of the nurse. Realistically, get caught in a weird position. If you run to an even worse one, it's just game over for you in the span of less than 10 seconds. But we see Macro not winning the pallet stun there. That's the ping, and I am trying to get confirmation on what the ping is currently like, but it seems like, yeah, about 160 at worst. We're seeing a lot of 96 and 116 and 132 as to oppose of the killers. 28. Yeah, wow. So there is a little bit of diff there, but it shouldn't ultimately really matter on a nurse set. You should really be prioritizing those death locations, line of sight breakage and whatnot. You shouldn't really be playing too heavy on the pallet stuns. So that's probably the one instance where it's really going to hurt us in that regard, as we do take the hook onto Macro there over in corner 2. 2-ha just going to be traversing there ever so slowly. We do see this generator that has a lot of progress over at 2, and I didn't quite get to remember the split. We do have one over 8, and I do believe this is over at 5, so looks like the bottom gens are the ones that are being prioritized alongside 2 just being kicked, which is mighty unfortunate stuff, meaning the survivors probably want to die 11 at this current time. And 2-ha now just covering the middle of the map, really trying to press the survivors off of any gens that could potentially be working. Anticipate somebody's here over at the edge map after hearing just the slightest progress on 5. It's going to be foreignly pushed off that gen. Once upon a time, tunnel out, commenced tunnel out, continued tunnel out, is now going to be forced over into the corner of 7, but has to be careful of 8 and does ultimately eat that tag. Does not have decisive strike anymore, considering that, it was a little too long in between coming off the hook and whatnot, but we do win an egregious stun. This is the guy on 160 MS as well, so he wins the stun and Macro doesn't, question mark. But foreignly still catching up to him in the long run is going to be going down. They're really struggling with his gen pressure now, because they've ultimately flipped the map once more to where they're dying in the active over at 5. I think because it was foreignly working that gen, it's probably why he opted to chase. And 2-ha now just rotating back to 2. Going to try to commence chase back onto somebody else around this vicinity. I don't think there's quite anyone here, as they have pre-left it accordingly very nicely. That's going to be Eruption. Pop goes the Weasel. We're saving our turn back the clock for a better day if we do manage to see a different instance where it needs to be used. There it is, just straight onto 5. And we do see someone rotating off of 5. That's going to be foreignly, who just came off the hook. Let's just hope that he didn't touch the gen, and he didn't, because he still has the decisive strike in his back pocket for when he does need it. That's going to be him on the floor. We're going to have to eat the DS here. We have no choice, but we don't have anywhere to run after it succeeds. Or does it succeed? We do. I'd be very surprised if I see a missed DS this time around, but it does definitely happen in in certain scenarios, certain instances. We're going. No, we don't have dead hard, so we weren't able to go for a dead hard there, but we're able to get our tunnel out at what potentially looks like 3 generators remaining here, Peaches.
Absolutely. Yeah, Death at 4 gens, about to be 3. Not the best start for Survivor side, but still, there is a lot of gen pressure on the map. And also, just want to point out, that gen pop was actually humongous. I don't know if you noticed it before, but there's a 3 gen at 1 main and 2 that was so close to each other. I mean, there's still a 3 gen top side with 1 main and 11, but the one that was right there in the top right part of the map was disgusting. So that was good for the Survivors. Seeing that 3 gen, noticing that in the long game, it's not gonna be fun to tackle in a 3v1, so they got that one out of the way. And I think tackling the 3 gen topside between 11 and 1 is a lot more manageable than trying to tackle 3 gen 1 in main. And we do catch out Overkill, trying to stealth out toward around 11, trying to work on that 3 gen. Once again, we get the nice tag on him. He's trying to send it down to the bottom. I think that will be the new plan. Oh, I think Overkill. Oh, that was great pathing, but not quite able to get out of the reach of Tuha, so we will get the hook onto them. But I think that's what the plan is going to be for our killer side, trying to keep the hook in the 3 gen top side. And I mean, it is just a nice spot to hold. And for the Survivors, just die as far bottom as possible, as I don't think there's any gens around the 7 side. I guess there's the one at 8, but I think 5 is probably going to go. We saw progress on that earlier. And then yeah, these 2 bomb gens I think are just I think that Tuha realizes that these gens are going to be heavily worked on, and then as a team, the 3 of them will tackle the 3 gen. We do see the Deliverance come in with Overkill, taking themselves off the hook, MRN on a hook as well. And we do catch out Macro over here at Shack, not quite able to connect their lunge onto them. And Macro playing their distance, cutting the line of sight, but there's really not a whole lot to cut around here. Oh, we predicted them to go onto the hill. We know that Macro is the balanced landing survivor. We were able to predict that, and we were able to cut them off at the window at Shack, getting it down onto them, proccing the eruption, and this will be the second stage onto Macro. So Tuha will want to hook them closer to the top side once again, although Macro did do a great job pulling the killer away from that 3 gen. I know Overkill has to be working on that 11 gen, as that's what we saw them working on earlier. And in popping that gen, there won't be any other 3 gens. But we catch out MRN trying to be the savior, trying to get the unhook. And it's huge. I don't know if MRN has any second chance perks. I think we saw the Unbreakable on a different survivor. I think it was on Foreign. So I don't think, yeah, this is it. If Tuha can find Overkill, it's over, and it'll be a 4K3 result. They do have the Deliverance, so I guess it's. Oh no! They've already been hooked. They already. I'm absolutely tripping. Do not mind me. So, they already used it. We do have the med kit, so at least they'll be fully healthy. But both of your friends are on hook toward the bottom side of the map. You have all this pressure. You still have pop and eruption in the background if you ever need to use it. Overkill is gonna have to be a stealth demon to possibly unhook both of them, but Tuha has no reason to leave these survivors.
There's no reason to go anywhere at all, and he knows that Overkill is resetting on the top side. He definitely wouldn't be resetting the bottom side, so he's just trying to protect his cross point to see where our survivor is going to be coming from. And I don't think that he makes it hold on a second. He's just completely debated him entirely. It does result in a tag, but he's able to get the pull for free, and that's going to allow Macro to go back to 8 after eating this tag. He doesn't have anywhere else to go, and we're forced to get this grab as soon as possible. Some nice edge map jiggy is going to allow that to happen with no repercussion. So our survivors also all of a sudden back in the game. Macro is trying to make his death location as fast 7 as possible, but not quite winning those edge map 50s around the walls there. Our nurse a little too smart for that. We are going to be splitting the gens entirely though, so hopefully maybe we can last long enough to get one more done. I don't think that's going to be the case with how Tuha has been playing and how short his chases have been so far. I just want to elaborate and point out that Macro being found behind the logs is absolutely a great find for our killer, but just an absolute misplay from our serves. It just created this instance where you had 2 hooks just in front of the killer, and Honestly, it's just very fortunate for our survivors that we didn't catch sight onto Overkill going for that pull after resetting himself. Did not quite catch onto the scratch marks, but we are going to be downing him just before the edge map over at 11 and going to be trying to spot out MRN before he pops his gen. He has to just kind of play for it. Doesn't really have anything else to do. He can stealth off and then unhook Overkill, but from there on, it's just going to be rinse repeat with no pressure to show for it. We've chosen the correct generator. And because turn back the clock is allowed, we're able to hit it from a distance. It can be an absolute bitch to be working with, but it doesn't matter anymore. MRN is just kind of forced over into 4. This is the kind of chase that you needed a little bit earlier on in the trial, although I think that Tuha knows that he can kind of relax a little bit in this chase and doesn't have to put on the sweatpants too much. He is going to be safety blinking there, playing around the tree, and ultimately does win around side. And honestly, these survivors... Welcome back, everyone. Having a little bit of trouble with the transition as well on the timing and whatnot, but what you did see last trial was a sabotage hook which had an impact on the game due to the fact that we do not have a rule disclosing that saboteur is not to be used for its intended effect of sabotaging a hook. We have decided to go with referee's discretion, which will invoke a low tier penalty as opposed to a high tier. So we will be fixing those rules, do not worry. They are meant to be implemented and are meant to be disclosed that you are not to use that perk for sabotaging, but and only for just seeing where the scourge hooks are. But again, they'll be yet to come regardless. We are going to be following up after a nice and quick early tag onto Misery. This is a worse start than last game, so not quite, still way more gen pressure though, and the game has kind of just picked up from where it had left off as if we never had left it all. This is going to be a hook in the middle of the map from Macro, so he's able to press the gens from all different sides. All in the meantime, I do believe it'll be Mr. Cans coming in for that pull when he has the means to do so. Tuha is just stealthing around that edge map 8. Macro back on the gen over at mid 3. And this was a gen that, you know, you ideally do want out of the way very nice and early or out at all. This is going to be too hard, just hauling us back to top over at 11 as we do take the eruption proc onto this gen here. We do manage to get the pull in the background and away from the unsavory location. So it's a good pickup from our survivors, being able to kind of reset the tunnel out as well, because we ventured a little too far away from the hook to try and get our proc of eruption onto that generator sitting over at 9. It's going to be too hard, just vaulting into the loving embrace of the killer, but with life, it kind of saves him a little bit there. So Macro getting a little bit frustrated, probably wants to leave this maybe. No, he opts to commit, which I find pretty interesting. Doesn't want to go back to the tunnel out. We do see that they're getting reset in the background there. It's going to be Misery getting reset by I'm not too sure because the HUD is currently bugged, but we do have either Burke or Mr. Kansas gen ready to pop. Actually, they're both doubling it. Hang on a second. We heal. It was self-care. It was self-care and botany. No, I'm stupid. I forgot that's allowed. Oh my god. Fair enough. You know what? All credit to you. I tip my hat to you, good sir. Well done.
Well done indeed, and because of that, we will see our first gen pop and our second hook, first hook onto Tuha, and we also see a totem cleanse in the background, so getting inner strength up and ready to go. And our tunnel survivor Misery is nowhere to be found, so this is a pretty solid start for the survivors. I do question though why we ventured so far away from the gens. I don't know if he wanted to, Macro wanted to prioritize the top side gens, but I mean, it doesn't matter if you don't need to hold a 3 gen, because I mean the win con is what you said, is it like 4k3 and 4k3 is the win con, or 4k2? I'm sorry, I'm getting the
4k2 is win for Macro.
4k2 is Macro, yeah. So it doesn't matter if you hook in your 3 gen or not, you just gotta prevent it's just gonna be a difficult win con to meet regardless. But so far Macro has been doing fairly solid. He's been hitting a lot of his blinks, he's applying his eruptions, he's getting everything ready, but he continues to go a little too far away from the unhooks, and now we see the reset onto Tuha. So even though both Tuha and Misery would probably be the best survivors to go for, but we have no idea where they're at. And look at that, Tuha stealthing his mind out. Ooh, we're gonna get caught out. Oh, we do get caught out. We do see him over here at the orbital, about to smashes the pallet into our killer's face and make it over to Shaq. And Macro doesn't want any of that. They know this is too much time wasted on that survivor. We need to go back to our top side generators. We know there's a lot of progress being made around the map, and we already see, look at that, there's a lot of progress on this gen, but they're on the HUD. You already see Burke and Mr. Cans already on 2 different generators, and Misery stealthing nearby, waiting for our nurse player to get away from the area. And look at that stealthing. The stealthing on these survivors is absolutely phenomenal, and the pressure that the survivors have on the gens is just incredible. And Macro's just not able to find anyone. We are applying the eruption and the Colubrine onto one of the high progress gens, but he just doesn't have any pressure on the map. He had the pressure in his hand when he downed Misery, and he could have possibly tunneled him out, or at least put him on the second hook and make it a little bit more difficult to have him do anything. Because of course, if you have 2 stages on one survivor, you're gonna hide that survivor for the rest of the trial. You're gonna keep them in a locker somewhere, or pretend that they have head on or something, and just do not get found. But in this case, we did see that we're not in a 3v1. We're not anywhere near it, but we do catch our Misery though. We do get the injury on him, and if we can follow up with a second tag on him, maybe something that can be played differently. But no, Misery's pathing is absolutely phenomenal. He makes it over to the Orbital over here at 5, buying a lot of time for his teammates. I think with his chase, Mr. Cans might be able to pop the second gen, and Burke's gen is right there, almost there. But we do get the down. We do proc the eruption, so Burke's gen won't pop just yet. But Mr. Cans, his gen is incredibly close, and I don't think there's, because they died so close to the edge map, there's not really too many good hook spots around that our killer can make.
We get an early rotation on the pull as well, so they're setting themselves up for success. We do manage to get another proc of regression via turn back the clock onto that generator there just before us. Burke now forced off the generator over at 11. Mr. Cans deciding to hop back on the gen. Misery off of the hook right now. And now Macro just following up there with that tag onto Burke, and Burke is forced over into the map, edge map over at 9. Utilizing the trees very effectively, very well, but ultimately not winning the short blink. That's going to be Burke back on the floor. Mr. Cans! He's done it again. That's another clip for him. My God. How did he just evade that? How have we not seen him? Okay. Macro now is going to be kicking this gen here over at 6 and trying to look for the survivor that was once upon a time working it, but we know it was too hard with sprint, but with life in hand rather. My bad. That's the wrong exhaustion in my brain. But we do have access to no, sorry, we don't have access to Deli because we've already been hooked. My apologies. I just see it light up and I go, "Ooh, bro has Deli," but no, we're not able to use it because we've already been hooked. So Mr. Cans going back onto 11 after a clean stealth play. We do have Macro just looking for his next chase onto Misery, and Misery is doing a fantastic job at just stealthing out there over at the rock. Mr. Cans straight back off the gen, back into stealth mode. That's going to be the last gen we can afford to be popping right now. We need to kick 11. We need to hold on to all generators. We potentially actually need to make sure that Misery is out of the trial, because with 4 survivors left in the trial and 4 generators with this kind of split left in the map allocated to us, we cannot meet our win condition. And honestly, I want to say, just regardless of what happens, given the amount of pressure that we have on both sides right now, it's looking extremely likely that this will just be pulled up to a 4K1. It's still grounds for Macro to pull some high stages. He only has 3 to show for it, and after losing his tunnel out, like we've been saying the whole entire match, I do believe that he won't be able to 4K from this position. So I'm going to be breaking that gen there over at 11 when we do see the Pistons, and that's the sight you don't want to see as a killer that knows that they have a tough win condition to meet, is just Pistons pumping, 2 people doubling it straight in front of your face, all healthy, and then you have to just walk your fat ass over there to get them off the damn hook. But regardless, Macro now is going to be forcing Misery back into the corner a little bit too late for the tunnel out for it to mean anything, as we did meet our win condition in the first set. We'll be going to Peony Dynasty. Mr. Cans ready to pop his generator anytime soon. Short swing missing it in all of its glory is Macro, and now we're just fighting pretty much for the 4-stage win, sorry, 4-stage win, but the 4-stage end result. And as we've picked up on that, we've realized we probably need to go for one of our fresh hooks to, you know, put forth the most amount of stages we can have in a match as far as this goes. So Macro back on the case, trying to injure Burke, but we've spotted out Tuha, who's, you know, maybe more favorable and easier to down because he's already injured. Mr. Can's opting to go for the door there very preemptively, and he's trying to bait out some sort of a balanced landing by the rock by just kind of crouching next to it. Tuha on the floor trying to play for a hatch, so mighty unfortunate stuff. He is going to be trying to crawl all the way to where the window is to make sure he does get it. We are going to be getting a tag onto Birk, but ultimately it's going to be Burke and Misery out of the door. Mr. Cans needs to leave right about now. Hatch and Scouts his pick, so they'll be up first. Macro on the job. It's going to be Tuha, Burke, Mr. Cans, and Misery on the Survivor side, which is what you'd seen last trial. So tends to be the concrete lineup for Peony Dynasty, and you can only hope that they'll uphold the kind of match they had last trial, which was, yes, that 3-stage game on the Nurse. Absolutely incredible stuff. So back on the case. Macro, Misery, I don't know who I'm looking at anymore. Macro is going to be just covering the middle of the map here, so it's a lot of Cold Tower 1 today. Do apologize in advance, considering the fact that it just happens to be every killer that was selected was on Cold Tower 1. It's just one of those moments, but here we are. Now, Macro is going to be spotting 2 survivors off the rip here who are playing extremely aggressive. So a little bit different to how you would play the Nurse set, trying to stealth out and make sure that the Nurse does not find you. But in this instance, you want to be aggravating the chase in a favorable position, in a safe position. And unfortunately, we're going to be seeing Misery getting a little bit too overzealous and slammed into a whole bunch of boxes in the middle of the map. So does have access here to this pallet over at 4 that's going to be pre-dropped instantly, and he does have the choice of going straight back down to 3 after it's been broken by Macro, trying to zone him off into the edge map. But we've opted to stay here at the window, which leads me to believe that maybe we're running into the gens and we've had a sudden change of heart, and ultimately that's led into our demise, because otherwise you just keep on Wing straight into 2 at that point. But Misery on the floor, getting picked up, is probably going to be hooked all in those middle gens probably. Yeah, well, I was thinking more towards 3 because there is a pain resonance there. I'm not too sure if he would have made it if we had enough distance to cover without him wiggling, but I mean, a hook just in front of the water tower is just as good, especially when you can press the survivors off the gens all surrounding the hook. So we do have Tuhua just sitting on top of that rock over at 9. This gen here over at 10, that is pretty close to being done, but has been Burke just pushed off it for a little bit. Tuha now just trying to make distance over towards the shack, or is this Misery? No, it is Misery rather, sorry. He does have shack dropped for him, and we're faking the break there, and we fell for it, but we did not connect the dashes. It's just, the boxes saved us, the eye loop filler saved us. Can we get a hit in time? We might need one. We do have the pallet, and we greed it. My God. Are we able to make we were actually able to make that one over at mid-6, so getting a little bit antsy, thinking that he still had access to use that power. We knew that he was actually putting it back, but our survivor did not. But, you know, with 1 more stage to spare on this survivor and 3 gens to go, it definitely still is anybody's game. We're going for a little bit of a blind there, trying to go for a hit tank. If we are able to actually take that hit and he wiggled off because of that, that could have spelled problems. That potentially could have been him wiggling off of the shoulders of our killer.
That could have been the case, and I don't know if you've seen the pain res spread yet, but almost all of them, except that one at 3, is completely top side of the map. And you'll also notice almost all the gens top side have been complete. So this is where it can get very interesting towards the end game, because the survivors after this person gets unhooked, they're gonna want to die top side, right? Because you have the, I'm gonna say like a 4 gen, but you have most of the gens are bottom side. That's where all the pain resists are at. So even though right now it's helping them out, we're dying toward the bottom, going as far toward the bottom as possible to help pop those top side gens, prevent the pain reses. Now the end game, mid to end game, could possibly suffer a little bit. So I'm curious to see how these survivors are going to do this. And it looks like they're going to let Misery die on hook. I mean, you see Tuhon get off the gen. Maybe they're going to come in No. Burke and Tuha are content with staying on their gens. Mr. Cans is going to get himself reset. We see the spray over there at Shaq, but because Macro is confirming this death hook at 3 gens, we might almost see 2 gens pop for it. Burke's gen is about to pop. Tuha's gen is getting close to popping, but they pre-left just in case. Yes, we see them trying to make their way up. Oh my gosh, they really W keyed. Oh my gosh, you can see the scratch marks going all the way up to 10. They did not want any of that smoke at all whatsoever. So Macro, of course, not going to be taking that chase. It's going to imply the eruption and check out the rest of his bomb side generators. We do catch out Mr. Cans, however, over here at Shackett. Ooh, almost ran to the killer there for a second there. Uses his 5 moves ahead to, I'm sorry, not 5 moves ahead. I think he tried using the chem trap, but not quite able to get it onto the pallet. We see him full sprinting over to the top side. Yes, that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to pull the killer away from those generators, but like I said, it will be very interesting to see how this fans out. As I said, all the pain resists are up there, and oh, are we gonna be able to get it? No, we bump and we're not able to follow up with the second dash. We see the 4th gen pop. That gives Mr. Cans enough time to make it over to the pallet, maybe make it over to the window. No, we're gonna W key it all the way up to the one corner and make it to main possibly, but we all have all these trees around here. Our killer's not gonna be able to follow up with the second dash, and now Mr. Cans is going to the far corner of 1, and we will get the eruption proc, so the final gen won't pop yet. But like I was saying, now the pain resists are gonna kick in. Actually, I don't even know if they're gonna make it in time. If Burke and Tuha hold on to it, this is gonna be really close. I think it might pop in time. It does pop in time. That is only 4 stages on the board so far, but Macro does know where every single survivor is right now. They know they had to have been doubling the gen in order to beat the pain res. So they have to be around Shaq. They have to be somewhere in bomb side, and both of them are fresh hooks. So either survivor that gets found is the perfect one for Macro, and we do catch out Tuha over here at 8, bumping the pallet a little bit, followed up, vaulting over the pallet, and we zone him toward the bomb side. There's not a whole lot of resources bomb side, but this is a chase that Macro has to take. Going back to Mr. Cans and to Burke is just not worth it. It's by that time they get over there, they'll have made their distance. They'll either hidden out or sat a door. It's better just to stay with Tuha and try to get this down. But Tuha's pathing is absolutely phenomenal, cutting off line of sight, making it extremely difficult for Macro to just line up any of these bounds. And ooh, we do get that one though. We do land it, but we throw him into the open. This is huge for the survivor side. If Burke and Mr. Cans can maybe get out, Tuha might try to go for the hatch play, because I don't think, unless we have body blocks that can come in and help him get to a gate, in which, yes, that's exactly what we're seeing. We see Mr. Cans here trying to take it down for them, and they're a little bit stuck here at this little pile here in front of Shaq, but we're not staying here. Tuha send it all the way to Shaq, try and take their distance. Maybe they're trying to play for hatch, but here, once again, we see 2 Cans and Burke coming in for a body block, and oh, we do have some really good body blocking so far. Although Burke better be careful themselves, as that is also a survivor that they want, that is a fresh stage, so they can go for this. Yes, we do throw Burke into the wall. Actually, we might just get, yeah, we're fine with taking the down onto Burke, unless Mr. Cans can come in for a body block. We're launching around toward main. This is getting really, really close. We cut him off away from main. Oh my gosh, this will have to go down to a heal attack. I don't think there's enough distance unless Macro can just pick up. Yes, they will get the pickup. Will they get the beamer? No beamer will come into play. Very well played by the killer, able to cut off the survivors from the gate and get the down onto Burke, although they might try to 2-man save this possibly, or because this is going to be 3 fresh 7 stages. Yes, you do see Mr. Cans actually getting the blind there. Oh my gosh, it worked!
No.
Mr. Cans was able to get the blind. Although I don't think they don't make it anywhere. They got thrown against the rock. Never mind. I was going to say, wait, unless they get the BT hit. No. Okay, I was about to say, I was about to absolutely lose it for a second there, Hunter. If that blind worked and he got the unhook and they got the BT hit, I was about to absolutely was a 3 fresh 7 stage result. We saw quite the explosive end game. It could have been almost 4 stages total, could have been 8 stages, but we settled with the middle of 7. Saw some crazy plays, great individual survivor 1v1s throughout the match. It was fantastic to watch from both sides. Killer got some great throws, great fairly, like I said, the win con is 4 fresh 7 stages or 8 stages across the board. We have loaded in and we are good to go. We got Burke on the killer. We got a very different build actually from the normal. Normally we see roughly the corrupt pain res, corrupt pop, or maybe throw a Call Brian, turn back the clock, but here we see Undying and Ruin. That is a very glass cannon type build. Not as glass cannon with a lone Ruin, you have the Undying to protect the Ruin, but if those tomes are considered, oh my god!
No.
Macro running into Macro, not quite looking in front of him, runs into the box. Oh my gosh, they set up the head-on perfectly. They knew Macro was in a bad spot, and they called on MRN to come follow it up with a head-on. So now Macro was able to get away. MRN is able to make it over the vault, not quite able to get the M1 to connect, and now Burke might have to be forced to leave and find Macro again, as we do have the infection on them. We do have them. Oh my gosh, but Macro took his distance and hightailed it out of there. See you later. Burke is trying to find them once again, but look at that. He's got his balanced landing ready. So even though Burke does find them, he's just once again hightailing it out of there, making their way over to Shaq, but Burke was able to cut him off with his dashes, with his balance, of course. But this is a fairly strong palette as well to work with, so we will probably have to force this break, force the drop and break, and that might give a little bit of distance to make it to Shaq. I don't think so. No, not with the double bound, and Macro is now fully infected. We're in the red. We are hindered now. This is going to be a lot harder of a chase for Macro to handle, it. So far he's handling it quite well, but eventually he does make it over to the hill, but that will be the down on him. We do see the first gen pop, but Haunter, it's obviously too hard to tell yet where the pressure lies, but I think the Spowers are in a very favorable position right now.
They're in a good position. I mean, that was a strong first chase. We were able to make a very good, acceptable death location, and we're able to also disperse the pressure amongst the entirety of the map. We're all split up in very nice scenarios in our own little sections. We can go for the pool when we venture too far away from the hook, which we have done. Burke now choosing to chase Overkill, who is just greeting this short filler over at 9 and is just completely sent it towards 10 with the drop filler and 11 to his disposal with windows in hand. So Burke now just knows that he wants none of that, wants to tunnel out as soon as possible. Now, can he find it? Begs the question. We do see the scratch marks leading towards the bottom half of the map, where we anticipate that they'll be utilizing the Shack to the fullest of its ability. Burke just closing in that distance, trying to make sure, play the mind games, see if he can catch them out. He definitely can with a nice dash like that. And my oh my, that is why they've well, I was going to say that's why they've chosen the Wesker set, but it's not actually their pick. That's why they've chosen Burke to play the Wesker. There's going to be a basement hook slapped on the back hook there. Macro, for the first chase being so good, he still had to upkeep the pressure and have a good second chase, which he was unable to do after zoning himself into Shaq and getting caught at the check spot. It's playable when the killer doesn't have a few dashes to work with in that regard. So if the killer has to walk over there, it's not too bad screwing up the check spot like there. It was like a minor screw up. It wasn't even like a big screw up. The guy just kind of poked his head out a little too far forward and for a little too long, and just got caught by the tail end with Urabura. So you know, it does happen, and Wesker is very unforgiving in that aspect. So there's other killers on, you know, that typically can play around the Shack that it will not be so kind to them if, you know, you can still come back from that mucked up check spot. But regardless, Macro is going to be followed up here as our selected tunnel out. Oh, head on in the locker as well, ready for it. There it is, 3, 2, 1, bang. And we're able to drop that Shack pallet as well and create the distance for Macro, but we opt not to do so, as we did read the fact that Burke would probably just go around the Shack once more. As he has been thrown into a whole lot of nothing, we are just falling short of the logs there. So we're able to eat this tag and ultimately get 360'd in the process, and that is not what you want. So Scouts are on a mission right now, and I think we're just kind of throwing the game for the tunnel out at this point. We really needed that tag on MRN and to switch around for the pain resonance to slow the game down just a little bit more, because if we're able to chase this serve, we really need them down in the next 15 seconds, otherwise everything's just going to fall apart. We do slam MRN into the middle of the map there, where it's created a scenario where he's forced into 9, does have access to that filler pallet that we were talking about moments ago, and does make that egregious 50 as well on 130 ping. We are going to be trying to play the mind games around the filler pallet too. We do lose one of the killer. Looked like he was going to win it if he back vaulted, but Regardless, Burke now just back on the back foot, trying to just push off this survivor off the generator. I'm not quite too sure who this is. It seems to be, I think it would be our Adam player, Overkill. No, I didn't really get a good glimpse at that, but they are held off over the corner in the middle of the map. No, I've been sorely mistaken.
What?
It's Macro all over again. I thought he went top side. I'll be completely honest. I didn't anticipate that he'd go back to bottom side. Anyway, he's going to be out of the trial, and that's going to be our tunnel out secured, and that's going to be the result of 3 stages as it currently stands. Now, keep in mind, we need 8 stages to take it away for our killer. Our survivors have 2 generators to pop. With 50% progress over at 7, it leads our other generators to... leads me to believe that none of them would really have enough progress to even be a threat or a worry, but the split is diabolical. Look at that. We have main, we have 7, and we have 5, and somewhere off in the distance is our last other generator that counts for 4, but finally... Oh, sorry, 5 rather. How many are... Yeah, no, there's a 3-gen bot. Okay, so we can hold the bot side, but we want to be pressing those survivors over more towards the 6 portion of the map, and they're going to pick up on that. I mean, look at this. We are going to be trying to zone them around the T, back into the half of the top half, rather. As we do take the tag onto Overkill, we're going to be following up with the dashes. No, we've opted to protect here and go back on Gen Patrol, where we can potentially even get a tag onto Foreignly and force a reset over at top, all while in the meantime, if we kick Gen's bottom, we can just slowly watch them regress into their ultimate demise. Burke, still technically in that power position, is over at the middle next to the logs, is trying to just catch out his rotating survivors, but they do manage to get main done. Still, Burke doesn't really have any real reason to leave the bottom half, really wants to get this tag onto Foreignly and get it sooner rather than later. But again, throwing him into a whole lot of nothing, and that's just unfortunate, but we do end up getting the tag and the infection rate, so not all is lost. We do manage to get a reset happening off in top mid, and we do... Our killer does click onto the fact that that would have been a double, so we can afford to chase this since there's nobody working our bottom gens, but we've fallen short of the Ouroboros after we've just jiggied away from that. And we do still have the drop filler to be working with. We do win 150. That's $50 in hand. Can we count the 50s again? That's 100, maybe 150. Yes, 150 it is. And we get clipped on the back end. That's not what you want to see if you're rooting for Foreignly, but he's going to be hooked on a pain resonance just in the middle of everything. It's not really in the middle. It's a little bit closer to the right-hand side of the map, but it is going to slow our progress down a little bit more. We didn't even get a pain resonance onto Macro, so no wonder why we're at 1 generator remaining. Our tunnel out didn't even use a stack of pain res, but Foreignly on the hook now just in front of one of those gens. We do manage to maybe even break that totem over at main, so that will be Undying gone. We'll still have Ruin in the trial, won't we? Yeah, it's just sitting there over at 8, so even though we get Ruin done, double Ruin can be an absolute nightmare to deal with, and Burke, knowing that, is going to take his ground back over into 5, where he's going to be chasing up this survivor, trying to play the line of sight check spots there. 1 corner, 2 corner, edge map, edge wall, 1 edge wall, 2 edge wall, I don't know, MRN. And he's had a fantastic game, might I add. Will he be able to win this 50? Does so. Does he win the window? No, he's going to get it tagged just before it. Now, do we select... no, we are actually going back for the generator, because I don't think we'll really be able to capitalize on our survivor over at Shack. It could potentially just all fall apart. Overkill going to be slammed into the corner of 10. Oh, we're forced to chase this now, though, and this will be the tie if we manage to camp out all remaining stages onto Overkill, but all in the meantime, MRN probably sitting on one of those generators in the far distance. We know where he is, so if we can get a stage onto Overkill and then go back for MRN, which we definitely well and truly could, even though we're going to be doubling 5, it's not going to be enough pressure to be worrisome, and it's going to force them off the gen into a really bad spot, because once you coming from, you know, the bottom half, sorry, the top half of the map over to the bottom, you don't have anything to be working with since Shack is already thrown, and everything around it is just empty and bold. So I don't know, Peaches, what are you thinking?
This is for the most of the beginning and like toward the upper middle part of the match, it was generally looking in favor of scouts there for a second, but I just have to, as I'm watching this match, I keep looking back at Macro getting found out at Shack. Ooh, very nice mind game. We can get the M1 onto MRN, and now we see the spray onto Foreign, and we know exactly where they are. They gave away their location, even though they're the last survivor. They needed to go for the pull. Well, they don't know exactly where they're at, but they have the general idea of where Foreign is at. But I just keep thinking, oh, and there he is. Foreign eventually does reveal themselves, and they might be able to make it. No, they're not gonna be able to make it to the unhook. They get life off in the process, but with this down, this will be the set win for Peony Dynasty and the overall victory going 2-0. But man, as this match wraps up, I have to point out because it keeps that's not good. But we'll get back to that in a minute. But I just have to keep looking back at Macro getting found out at Shack. The scouts were in such a strong position. They had 3 gens down. They had what we thought was their tunnel out hidden. There wasn't a whole lot of pressure on the map for the kill. Of course, Undying and Ruin were still up, but it was in Scouts' hand. Like they had the set win in their hand. I mean, at least it was gonna be extremely difficult for the killer for Burke to come back. But then we find him at Shack in the 3 gen, injured. In fact,